Hey, it's Aaron, Metal Theologian, and we're listening to Dark Star. I just want to hype this a little bit because I decided I kind of really like this record, and it's a new wave British heavy metal era record, and I tend to be kind of not the biggest booster of the LPs of that era, you know. So this is one of them, and it's not a 10 out of 10, but it's a pretty solid record. It's pretty rocking, and like when it's over, I'm like, that was exactly the right amount. It doesn't really leave me wanting more, But I also don't, when it ends, I'm also not like, oh, thank God that shit's over. It's like, that was a really good dose and really satisfying. And if you're me right now, you're probably going to put, my next one is probably, I'm going to put another Blue Oyster Cult record. Because I'm still on that kick, man. I can't quite shake it 100%. So, anyway, I think we've been making a mistake. And by we, I mean all of us collectively in, kind of a foundational thing as far as our estimation of music, and we're going to talk about that today. But I saw this Walmart the other day. I was totally surprised. It was like I was just destined to have a soda today. I actually had a shake earlier too. I'm kind of sugared out, but today I'm going to suffer from my art because I'm really curious to try this shit too. It's the same amount of calories as ever, I think. It's 150 in a Pepsi and 160 in a Dr. Pepper, but it might be 150 in a regular. Anyway, I don't drink these often, but I'd never heard of fucking Dark Berry before I saw it on the shelf, so. My mouth is a little bit dry, of course, so. Well, its central focus is definitely still Dr. Pepper, and I kind of appreciate that because I was half expecting this to be just like a berry soda. You know what I mean? There's something else going on there too, and it's kind of berryish. But it's funny because I've heard some people say that Dr. Pepper is like a cherry flavor or something like that to them. Like I don't remember exactly what the fucking berry is, but I'm pretty sure it's cherry. I'm it's like a thing. Like some people taste it that way and some people don't. And I have no idea if there's any relationship with the flavoring, but I feel like this might accentuate that to the point where someone who doesn't normally get it gets it. That person being in this case me. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty decent. It's not incredible, honestly. I mean, if you miss this one, it's not gonna be like, oh shit, man, I never had a chance to try. It's gonna be more like, yeah, whatever. I did notice this blue and beta thing. I hope they're not saying something about me because I'm drinking this bullshit. I mean, I realize it's a fucking, it's bullshit, but I'm willing to play along. All right, so here's the thing with the music, okay? I actually thought of this when I was talking with some people the other day after Marty Worm's stream. So everyone subscribed to Marty Worm. But the deal is, I think with a lot of records, a lot of my favorite records at least, that we make a mistake by looking at good and bad as being on a spectrum. I think we have a tendency to do that. I think that's just sort of our default way of looking at the world. But I think with records, we should consider good and bad more like two different variables. And here's an example, right? Right here. Now this cover's a little bit bad, right? So, but the way it's bad makes it really good. You know what I mean? So it's not super bad. See, this is where I'm gonna have to find shit as we go along. I tried to find some before I started the video, and I was On Command is just hopeless. You know what I mean? But yeah, but there's a certain amount of badness to that too. Musically, it's kind of straightforward. You know what I mean? Not a lot of badness going on, and a lot of good stuff. So it's a really good record, And there's enough badness in it to just sort of give it that extra little charm, I actually had this one out. This record is super competent and well played and put together and shit. But that cover gets some points for badness. You see what I'm saying? But it's would this be better if it had a great cover, sort of an artistic cover like this? I mean, I actually don't think this is a very good cover. But I think it's a better cover, at least as far as the concept, if not the execution. Whereas this is just fucking ridiculous from start to finish. But this is fucking. But this is the cover that it should have. This is correct. You know, this is like the universe smiling on us. And looks to me like justice is peaking too. But she's probably checking out the band. I'm thinking. But you see what I'm saying? Like, there's some badness. Now, this is a really good record. But like, the fact that there's some shit about it that's a little bit bad doesn't like change that goodness at all or anything like that. You know what I mean? There are a lot of records where I feel like, man, I want to give that record a 10 out of 10, but there's like this thing that's kind of bad about it. And I always feel a little bit constrained by that, you know? And I'm sort of realizing maybe I should just consider that along a separate continuum, you know what I mean? Now, the other thing is, I don't want to deny the obvious. There are different kinds of bad, you know what I mean? There's bad that's bad, and there's bad that's just bad. Like, this is just kind of bad, I think. This isn't like bad like enhancing. This is just like bad, you know what I mean? And I think that maybe sort of reveals a little something about how the good and bad criteria interact too, because like here, like the musically this record's great, but the cover's really kind of bad, and it kind of works as, I mean, it looks like it was just created for a CD, you know, and like it doesn't look like it just blew up very well. The art just looks kind of shoddy, and that, you know, and it's kind of, and not really in a funny way like this, you know what I mean? Like this just kind of hits it, you know, in a way that the other one doesn't. So even though they both get points for badness on that one, this one isn't hit as hard, you know what I mean? I don't know. I haven't completely baked this whole concept yet, but I just keep seeing it in more and more records, you know what I mean? Like this. Now, this is a great record. That cover, like that pencil drawing and shit, it's kind of bad, you know? It's kind of great, too. It's definitely exactly what I want to see on here, but, you know, it's a little bit bad, you know? And I suppose I give it, there are a couple, like, there are a couple gaps in one of the tapes here. Like, I think I want to say it's one from the performance, but it might be one of the demo ones. But it just, like, drops out a couple times. So we get a couple badness points for that, too, you know? Because that's not like a professionalism thing or a production thing. That's just like a basic quality thing if the tape's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But it's still really great regardless. And by the way, if you see a copy of this fucking thing, it's still one of the best fucking records, man, this comp. I'm usually not a fan of a band that put out 145, like making an LP with all their demos and shit, but this is great. And there's a more recent, this one's gotten expensive, but there's a more recent version of the same shit on either High Roller or No Remorse. So just look for the UK Tyrant. It's fucking fantastic shit. Yeah, so this is a record where the badness really makes it suffer. See, musically, this record is fucking solid, man. It's really good. But this cover is so bad, it's to the point where it just kind of makes me not really want to pull out the record. You know what I mean? So the badness actually really hurts this one. So this kind of a case, now, like, can I give this record, like, musically, I can give this record probably an 8 out of 10. You know what I mean? But, like, if when I pull it out, the emotion that I feel looking at this cover, if that only justifies, like, a 4, then is the record really an 8? Maybe it's really only a 6 or a 7. See what I'm saying? Because of the badness. But the goodness of this record, man, is really fucking good, in fact. I might put it on for a minute right now. Actually, yes, I'm going to put on this LeGriff record instead. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit here. This is another one we can talk about the badness, too. I was kind of thinking about this before, because I can kind of argue a couple different sides. I mean, for starters, it's a terrible band name. Fucking LeGriff. But this band just fucking rocks, man. They made, like, 3 EPs, or depending on how you count, 2 12 inches in an EP. Basically 3 12 inches. And these guys, I've talked about like that new wave of British heavy metal sound. These guys totally have it. So, we'll get a little dose of that today, too. How are you on for time? Oh, not even 10 minutes in. I've sort of gone through my thesis. Well, I have another story. I told this story, but it's been a long time. But this guy that I'm fucking watching on here, Eric Holmberg, from Real 2 Real Ministries. Yeah, I got into a bidding war with him once over a copy of the first Black Widow record. And I didn't know about any of this at the time or anything like that, right? But like back in the very early days of eBay, and forgive me if you know the story already, but yeah, the video I made about it is probably like 7 years old now, so. Alright, so back in the really early days of eBay, you could use your email address as your username if you're just lazy. This is before shit got as like fucked up as it is now, you know? So, that's what I had. So one day I went on eBay, I was like, oh, holy shit, I had it on CD, but I really wanted it on record, you know, and I'd never seen it before. I was like, oh, holy shit, a fucking Black Widow on record? Damn, you know, so I put a bid on it, right? But someone comes and outbids me, like, instantly, and I, like, went back and forth, like, I was like, fuck. And then I looked at his username, and it was, like, Eric at r2rministries.com. And I was like, son of a bitch, this guy has a fucking, like, budget. Like, he has a fucking, like, mega church with a budget or something like that. And so he doesn't give a shit how much this fucking thing costs. He's gonna, like, buy this fucking thing, whether it's $30 or $300, and fucking shit talk it and get it away and basically take it out of circulation. It's gonna fuck everyone. So I was pissed, you know? So I wrote him an email. And this is a shitty thing to do. Like, I probably had no business doing this, man. But, you know, it was... I mean, I'm a lot older now than I was then, too, right? And I was like, listen, man, I'm going to be an asshole, but I actually, like, really want this record. Oh, I went and looked at the domain, too. Like, R2R Ministries, what they did. And so, you know, it was obvious what it was for. So, I wrote him an email. I said, hey, man, I wasn't like a total dick, but I was like, I really want this record. I've been looking for this for a long time, and it's important to me. So, like... You probably have a budget, and there's no way I can win. I think I said you probably have Gary Bauer's money. If you're like, remember your like 90s Christian Coalition, Who's Who. That name might ring a bell. But I was like, yeah, you're probably working with like Gary Bauer's money or something like that. And you know, this shit really bums me out. So he emailed me back, and he was really nice. He was like, dude, no, I'm not trying to do anything like that. I really don't believe in censorship. Of course they're going to say that, right? But still, he's like, I really don't believe in censorship. And if you really want the record, dude, I just need a copy for the fucking thing. Maybe we can work something out. And I was like, well, dude, you can get it on CD. I have it. And he was like, oh, shit. So he found it on, like, Amazon or something, which, like, it just started carrying CDs. And he was like, well, listen, man, I'll just get the CD then. You can have the record. So don't worry about it, man. We're cool. Thanks. You know, I was like, well, right on, man. I ended up paying a little bit too much. I still had to outbid him, you know, and the record was kind of trashed. Ironically, I found a beautiful copy in the wild up in Greenville in South Carolina, of all places. But yeah, that was how I got my first copy of the first Black Widow record. How I happened to cross paths with Eric Holmberg from Real to Real Ministries. And I'll tell you something, like later on, like I told a friend of mine about this, and we like went and like looked for this shit. I actually saw this for the first time. I was in Austin because they actually had the video store, Vulcan Video in Austin when I was living there. So I rented it on VHS, and I watched it, and I was like, holy shit. And I watched it with a friend of mine who was like, dude, he was like, this is the Citizen Kane of anti-rock videos. So, and I really still pretty much feel that way to this day. So Hell's Bells 2 is very entertaining, and Eric Holmberg stuff is generally pretty good. But Hell's Bells, and you know something, when I was exchanging messages with him, even back then, he was a little bit embarrassed by how far he had gone with some of the shit in this. But don't hold it against him. As far as I can tell, he's a decent guy, and it's been a long time. But, yeah, Hell's Bells, like, this one has the fucking business about how, like, if you have, like, a raw egg and you bring it to a metal show, that, like, halfway through the show it'll be boiled from, like, the fucking sound waves and shit. So, yeah, like, I mean, this is really, like, the greatest hits of, like, all the, like, cliches that you've ever heard, you know? So, yeah, it's good stuff, though. Ugh. So that's pretty much all I had for stories, I think. You know something else? Actually, I got one other little story. For like a year, I've been wanting to do a little like gag where when I take a sip of the soda, I go, on your mark, get set, shoe nice. And like probably the only person who would even get it is Chris from Dixieland Farms. But he would think it was hilarious and it'd be worth it. And anyone else that was hilarious, of course it'd be worth it too. But I think only one person would get it. Anyway, every fucking time, like 20 minutes after I make a video, maybe 5 minutes after I make a video. Fuck, I just got some like fucking thing on the phone. Anyway. I lost my train of thought because my phone did something weird. Anyway, right now, remembering at the end of the video is the closest I've ever come to remembering to like include that little joke in there. So there's the gag. That might be the best I can do with it. So that's about it. Short one today, but thanks for watching. And think about that. Good and bad aren't on a continuum like that. They're not on the same. They're not at two ends of the same axis. At least I don't think so.